Public and well, Niranjan, before the break we were talking about the 15 minutes of terror, as K7 has termed it, the descent obviously being the most critical part. So take our viewers through the various phases of descent and what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. So just to first of all tell you, Suesha, we're looking at some videos that have come in, right? Some videos of the moon with extreme clarity. Now, in those videos you will see the satellite images. Now, basically, if you look at the videos, you can see those panels which are there in the frame, right? The solar panels. And essentially what happens is, now these are images that have been captured by what you call the lander position detection camera of the Chandrayaan mission 3. Now this is the propulsion module, and it's taken from an altitude of about 70 kilometers. Okay. Now take a look at these two, the lander and the rover. Just to give you an idea, the lander module of the mission is scheduled to make a soft landing on the lunar surface on Wednesday, a little after 6 p.m. tomorrow. And essentially the images that are coming in, Suesha, the images that are coming in, they will match those images against an onboard moon reference map. Those images are being used to see where that landing has to take place. Now, those images are of the lunar far side. Now let me tell you, you asked me about the 15 minutes of terror. Let me tell you, if my VJ Rawatji can just focus on this. Essentially now it's orbiting around the moon. It's orbiting around the moon, and essentially what happens is the descent starts at 30 kilometers above the surface of the moon. 30 kilometers, and then it comes down to the second stage, which is about 7.4 kilometers, and then 6, and then it comes into the 1,000 kilometer descent range, and then essentially it stabilizes itself, and it's traveling at the speed of roughly about 1.6 kilometers per second, and eventually it lands in the intended position. But the descent itself starts. The pictures, by the way, that you're seeing of the satellite from here, Rawatji, the pictures from here, these are, these images that are coming in, that we are seeing, that ISRO is putting out, is from a height of about 70 kilometers. But the descent itself starts at 30 kilometers. Descent starts at 30 kilometers when it's orbiting, and then eventually at 7 kilometers, between 6 and 7 kilometers, it starts taking its position. And then it gets into an altitude, of course, 1,000 meter altitude, and then eventually lands, and it would have traveled roughly about 745 kilometers from the time it starts making the descent to eventually landing. It would have traveled roughly about 700 kilometers, and it will land. Expected landing speed is about 1.68 kilometers per second is what experts at ISRO have told us.
So primarily, as our scientists describe it, Niranjan, that at about 400 meters from the lunar surface, it has to be at a speed where it is able to hover, and then to make a soft landing on the moon, it has to be at a walking pace. That's how they've described it. Only when they are able to achieve that is when the touchdown is possible. Let me also bring in Shavan, as he is with us from the studio. Shavan, as we talk about what's going to happen tomorrow, I believe you're also getting us more voices from the studio. Over to you, Shavan.
Well, thank you very much, Niranjan and Suesha, for getting us that report from Bengaluru in Nehru Planetarium. And across the country, there is a palpable excitement as far as Chandrayaan-3 is concerned, as we are inching closer for the touchdown. But tonight on This Is Exclusive, we're getting to you a special guest. This entire mission, which all began, the Lunar Mission Study Task Force, and the very fact that we had pretty much achieved in terms of the goals that were set by Vikram Sarabhai at the very time when Mr. G. Madhavan Nair had taken over. Mr. Nair, thank you very much for joining us on this special broadcast. I want to take our viewers back to 2003 when you took over as the chairman of ISRO. That's when the Lunar Mission Study Task Force actually began, and finally that meeting that you had with the former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Chandrayaan-1 was envisaged. I want you to tell our viewers the journey And why exactly was the lunar mission of India so very important? Why did you, when you met the Prime Minister, insist that perhaps India should invest not only time and resources, but also plan ahead and even perhaps think of being ahead of NASA and the European Space Agency?
You have given partly the answers to the question itself. As you are aware, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, the vision in mastering this technology of space and then applying it for the benefit of the common man. In 2000, when we took a review, already most of such goals have been achieved. And what next has been the question before us. Certainly, even early days, we were doing a little bit of resources were spent on ionospheric studies and studying the stars and galaxies and so on using the spacecrafts. But the question came, why not we go much deeper into the fundamental understanding of the universe? And that's how a study team was constituted with Dr. George Joseph as chairman. Dr. Kasturangan was the chairman at the time. And this report was available to me when I took over. Of course, then after my briefing to the Prime Minister, he was really enthused. He said that, yes, we should have a closer understanding of the moon. Of course, he was really citing how our ancient Vedic texts, etc., has described about the moon and the possibilities and so on. And then, of course, on the lighter side, he said the moon looks so beautiful from the ground. And as you go closer and have a close pictures, I don't know what images you will get. Certainly, it turned out to be so. We had of course, we went through the design of a trajectory for the traveling beyond the Earth's gravitational field, and then how to reach the moon. Also have a deep space tracking network which can keep in contact with the spacecraft and so on. So all those developments took place in the 2005 to 2008 timeframe, and 2008 in the first attempt itself. We are fortunate to have arrived at the moon very precisely and placed our Chandrayaan-3 in a lunar orbit. And there, of course, it was a circular orbit going around. And we had a host of instruments from Indian scientists as well as from the international community, which has really mapped the almost entire surface of the moon and have a lot of information about the surface features, mineralogical content, and ultimately we were able to confirm the presence of water on the moon and so on. So this was a starting point. Of course, later then we wanted to have a confirmation about the remote sensing data. In situ measurement is important. That is how the Chandrayaan-2 was conceived, where there will be a set of instruments landing on the surface of the moon, picking up samples, analyzing, sending it back. And of course, as you know, Chandrayaan-2 did not succeed fully. Now the Chandrayaan-3 is an opportunity to prove that we can safely land on another planet.
Before I come to Chandrayaan-3, Dr. Nair, let me also take our viewers through one very interesting fact with regards to Chandrayaan-1, when you were the chairman of ISRO. At that point in time, when Chandrayaan-1 was launched, 60% of the lunar missions by that time used to end in failure. But despite that, you and your team decided to go ahead with Chandrayaan-1, and of course that perhaps the intervention that was made by former President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, where he said that how do you really prove that we had gone to the moon? And that's when a different object was altogether added to this Chandrayaan-1. I want to understand this, despite the failure rate being so very high at that point in time, how did you all actually overcome that? And Chandrayaan-1 became not only a successful mission, but lauded by across the globe, and of course led to the discovery of ice molecules too.
Well, certainly, ISRO always looks for challenges. And as you rightly pointed out, the lunar missions were not that successful in the past. Several advanced countries have failures in their history. So we really took it very seriously. Our mission team at Vikram Sarabhai Space Center did elaborate the computation as to the trajectory between Earth and the Moon, and also what is the optimum time for such an event, and what type of launch vehicle has to be used, and so on. More than that, I think, as you rightly pointed out, after going there, we wanted to see that our flag is deposited on the surface of the moon. So that is how the suggestion from Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, then president, to have the moon impact probe. So that also was realized. Now, how we achieved this was here concentrated efforts and cautious approach. We have normally the people go from Earth to Moon in a single shot. Russians, they do that quite often. And Americans, of course, go around the Earth, and then from there they take off. So we thought that it is better to first understand what happens when we go to higher altitudes from the Earth's surface. So we have gone to elliptical orbit, reaching up to something like 1.7 lakhs kilometers. And from there, we try to calibrate the differences which may cross the trajectory. So this cautious approach has resulted in a precise targeting and also the instrumentation on board the Chandrayaan spacecraft, as well as the deep space tracking network. What we have established at Bangalore has helped in steering it accurately. And finally, we were happy that we arrived at the moon within a pillbox of 10 kilometers. So this was a great achievement for any country. It is simply because we didn't know anything about it. So we took a cautious approach, went on calibrating at every moment, and then trying to see what we done next, etc. The real-time corrections have helped us in achieving the lunar orbit in the first attempt itself. Then, of course, on the instruments, Indian scientists have come forward with half a dozen instruments, but then we could find a little bit of spare capacity, and I used that opportunity to rope in some international cooperation. Some of the instruments from NASA and ESA were put on board, so it became a total complement of 12 instruments, which have given a total mineralogical mapping, and above all, the presence of water molecules throughout the surface, and the presence of huge deposits of ice blocks in the South Polar region. So this this shows that how ISRO goes about very meticulous planning and implementation of their programs and take up the challenges in a sporting manner.
Dr. Nair, can I also perhaps tell our viewers what I found very interesting is you had essentially told the government, and you've also written this in various articles, that had we not started the lunar mission on time, not only would we have been left behind, but perhaps NASA and the ESA would not have ever shared their data, would not have collaborated with us. So somewhere down the line, you actually foresaw what is going to happen, and not only that, perhaps put India on that very map that we could have actually missed.
Well, certainly we were the NASA and the Russian Space Agency and the US Space Agency. They had several missions to the moon in the 60s, and they had a lot of information about the lunar surface and some of the minerals, etc., in the equatorial region. But unfortunately, these scientists' scientific data is kept secret, and they will not share with other countries. So we took upon ourselves that we should break this barrier and also try to see that our own capability to go to Moon or Mars at the earliest. So this opportunity was converted to the Chandrayaan-3 mission using our own rocket system and totally indigenously designed spacecraft and instruments. And in fact, the non-cooperation or the non-sharing of the data by the advanced countries was really been the trigger factor which has made us go on our own and finally prove our capability in this high-tech area.
Mr. Nair, I want to now focus a little bit about Chandrayaan-3, and perhaps you've made this statement multiple times, but I just want to understand where does it really come from? The very fact that you say that you're extremely confident that despite the kind of complex mission that Chandrayaan-3 is, it is going to be extremely successful. This in the backdrop of failure as far as Roscosmos's Luna 25 is concerned. But despite that, you are saying that this is going to be extremely successful. What makes you so very confident?
Well, Chandrayaan-2, we learned quite a bit of lessons. In fact, the orbiter was absolutely perfect. It was 100% success. Then the descending operation also was perfect up to an altitude of nearly 2 kilometers. At that instant, something went wrong. Of course, the data available was a very limited period, but we know that after the 2 kilometer, it lost the control in velocity and altitude and finally crashed landed on the surface of the moon. Then ISRO team, I understand they went into every possible reason which can lead to such a catastrophe. And they have made design modifications and corrections in such a way that such events will not take place. They strengthened first of all, the landing pads, the pods on which the spacecraft will land on the surface of the moon. The thruster configuration has been modified. The thrusters have been redesigned and qualified again for a variable thrust and adjusting the level depending on the gravitational field of the moon and so on. And again, the host of sensors have been introduced on board to detect and provide redundant mechanism for finding the status of the spacecraft. Then again, the total control and guidance algorithm also has been revisited, and entire autonomous functions have been simulated a large number of times on the ground with possible scenarios of deviation and possible scenarios of failures of actuators or sensors and so on. And with that confidence only, the Chandrayaan-3 is cleared. So with that type of effort which has gone behind in understanding the landing phenomena, certainly I hope ISRO will be able to have 100% success in the coming mission.
Dr. Nair, with regards to one wish that you and your team always had, that we should have a permanent facility on the moon, you've spoken about this in the past. With Chandrayaan-3, and if it goes exactly how it is planned, do you think perhaps it is time for a permanent facility on the moon in the coming few years? Perhaps that is going to be the what next moment for ISRO?
Certainly, I think when US is planning to have their astronautic missions, the man going back to moon again, we should not be lagging behind them very much. Of course, we do not have the luxury of carrying the manned capsule to the moon at the moment. So the best option is to go for a robotic exploration of the moon, especially the unexplored regions, and establish some sort of a permanent observatory that can be a substitute for the space station, which is very prohibitively expensive to maintain. So this station out there on the moon can be looking at the stars, galaxies, and beyond, and give a lot of scientific data about the origin of the universe and how it is progressing and so on. And again, observing the moon and the sun and the earth simultaneously on moon will give us a lot of information about the climate change and related parameters as well. So that way, I think India should be targeting to have a robotic exploration station there. In addition, of course, the possibility of collecting helium-3 from the surface of the moon or taking some exotic minerals from there back to Earth also should be in the agenda in the future days.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Nair, for putting this into perspective and also taking us through this journey. Not very often do we get an opportunity to hear those valiant stories, the sacrifices that have also been made by our scientists. Now, perhaps we are moving towards the third successful lunar mission. Once again, thank you very much, G. Madhavan Nair, former ISRO chairman, for joining us on Republic TV.
I wish the entire ISRO team and the country good luck in the coming operations of the Chandrayaan-3.
Well, in fact, our rolling coverage continues as we inch closer to that very moment, the big moment as Chandrayaan-3 attempts for a soft landing on the lunar South Pole. Stepping at a short break, on the other side, news and updates continue.
Shifting focus to the latest in the Kaveri water issue between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, as the states are on the verge of fighting yet another legal battle over the sharing of the waters of the river Kaveri. The Congress government of Karnataka has convened an all-party meeting tomorrow on the 23rd of August over the release of waters to Tamil Nadu. A detailed report. Take a look.
The Kaveri dispute has taken centre stage in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, escalating the decibel against the Congress government in Karnataka for supplying water to Tamil Nadu. BJP called for a Bengaluru-Mysuru highway bandh. They also alleged that the Congress government in Karnataka is trying to appease the DMK.
There is shortage of water storage, rainfalls have gone, and already the Kurvai crop is taken care by Tamil Nadu. They should put all the facts before the Supreme Court and protect the interest of the farmers of Karnataka. And we are with the state government as far as protection of farmers in Kaveri region.
They just wanted to play politics. They wanted to keep DMK in a good books. Probably they have called a all-party meeting. It's in just eyewash. Our party representatives will be attending the meeting, and probably we want to expose this government how they have let down the people of Karnataka.
Amid attack from the opposition, the Congress government has convened an all-party meeting on August 23.
Karnataka government is calling all-party meeting on water disputes connected to Kaveri and Madai and all the disputes. So it is on Wednesday. I have called even the parliament members also, some senior parliament members also to be a part of the meeting, because important central ministers also there, which all of us has to work and save the interest of Karnataka. So to seek their suggestions, we have called an all-party meeting on Wednesday.
The Supreme Court on Monday agreed to constitute a bench to hear the Kaveri River water sharing dispute, where Tamil Nadu has sought direction to Karnataka to release 24,000 cusecs of water daily for standing crops. War over Kaveri is only intensifying. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Watching this morning on Republic TV. And in other news, the 27th edition of Exercise Malabar concluded on the east coast of Australia, off Sydney. The exercise not only reaffirmed the ability of the four nations
US and THE, the world's foremost university rankings organizations, have ranked Amity amongst the top 3% universities globally, making it among the very few Indian universities to be included in both rankings. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
Shifting focus to the latest in the Kaveri water issue between Tamil Nadu and Karnataka, as the states are on the verge of fighting yet another legal battle over the sharing of the waters of the river Kaveri. The Congress government of Karnataka has convened an all-party meeting tomorrow on the 23rd of August over the release of waters to Tamil Nadu. A detailed report. Take a look.
The Kaveri dispute has taken centre stage in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, escalating the decibel against the Congress government in Karnataka for supplying water to Tamil Nadu. BJP called for a Bengaluru-Mysuru highway bandh. They also alleged that the Congress government in Karnataka is trying to appease the DMK.
There is shortage of water storage, rainfalls have gone, and already the Kurve crop is taken care by Tamil Nadu. They should put all the facts before the Supreme Court and protect the interest of the farmers of Karnataka. And we are with the state government as far as protection of farmers in Kaveri region.
They just wanted to play politics. They wanted to keep DMK in a good books. Probably they have called a all-party meeting. It's in just a eyewash. Our party representatives will be attending the meeting, and probably we want to expose this government how they have let down the people of Karnataka.
Amid attack from the opposition, the Congress government has convened an all-party meeting on August 23.
Karnataka government is calling an all-party meeting on water disputes connected to Kaveri and Madai and all the disputes. So it is on Wednesday. I have called even the parliament members also, some senior parliament members also, to be a part of the meeting, because important central ministers also there, which all of us has to work and save the interest of Karnataka. So to seek their suggestions, we have called an all-party meeting on Wednesday.
The Supreme Court on Monday agreed to constitute a bench to hear the Kaveri River water sharing dispute, where Tamil Nadu has sought direction to Karnataka to release 24,000 cusecs of water daily for standing crops. War over Kaveri is only intensifying. Bureau Report, Republic TV.
Watching this morning on Republic TV. And in other news, the 27th edition of Exercise Malabar concluded on the east coast of Australia off Sydney. The exercise not only reaffirmed the ability of the four navies to operate together as an integrated force, but also highlighted their shared commitment to maritime security and regional stability through collaborative training and mutual understanding.
That's away from launch.
India's moon mission nears landing stage. World watches trajectory of Chandrayaan-3. Countdown to Chandrayaan-3 landing. Debating tonight at 9 p.m.
भारत माता की जय घोष सुनाई पड़ रहा है। विदेशी सरजमी पर तिरंगा शान से लहराता नजर आ रहा है और ये तस्वीरें प्रधानमंत्री मोदी के जोहानिसबर्ग पहुंचने की ये तस्वीरें, साफ तौर पर इन तस्वीरों में देखा जा सकता है प्रधानमंत्री वहां पहुंचे।
What you see on your screen are live images of the Prime Minister right now being greeted by the Indian diaspora that, on most of his foreign tours does gather in huge numbers to just have a glimpse of the Prime Minister and also to express their gratitude for what he's doing for the country and for the entire world, one would say, because, India